What if I told you that one quiet sentence just exposed the most disturbing truth we have seen in this family yet? A sentence that was not said by critics or ex-partners, but by the one person who has defended him for years. Robin finally admitted she allowed her children around someone emotionally unsafe. And once you hear what she said and what happened immediately after, you realize this was never an apology tour. This was a loyalty test. And by the end of this video, you will see why that admission changes everything. Hi besties, welcome back to the channel, because today we are talking about something that should genuinely stop you in your tracks. Something that on the surface looks like growth, but underneath reveals a deeply unsettling truth about power, control, and emotional safety in this family. Robin has now admitted in her own words that she allowed her children to be around someone who was emotionally unsafe. And that sentence alone carries more weight than anything she has said in years, because this is the same woman who has repeatedly used the word unsafe as a shield, a way to shut down conversations, redirect blame, and silence criticism. Yet until now, she never applied that word to the one person who has consistently demonstrated unpredictable emotional behavior. And that contradiction matters, because when someone who avoids accountability finally slips and names the truth, it tells us something has been breaking beneath the surface for a long time. And while some viewers may want to see this moment as awareness or growth, it is far more revealing to understand it as a survival admission, not empowerment, not clarity, but exhaustion. Because acknowledging emotional unsafety does not mean the danger is gone. It means the person has learned to live around it. And what makes this moment especially disturbing is that it happens in a context where loyalty is rewarded and dissent is punished. Because throughout this dynamic, we see a clear pattern. Compliance is praised, silence is safety, and honesty comes with consequences. And Robin knows that stepping out of line or challenging the narrative risks emotional withdrawal, conflict, or instability. And when you live with someone whose moods dictate the emotional climate of the household, you learn very quickly how to manage them, how to anticipate reactions, how to soften your words, and how to minimize your own needs. And this is not speculation. It is directly reflected in her language when she explains that she pulls away only when he becomes emotionally unsafe, meaning she stays present through a great deal of volatility before finally protecting herself. And that alone shows us how normalized instability has become in her world. Because in a healthy relationship, emotional safety is the baseline, not something you lose temporarily and then earn back through good behavior. And yet, this entire conversation is framed as if he has done the work, taken accountability, and changed, even though the people who were actually involved in the conflicts, including his children and former partners, have said plainly that nothing meaningful has shifted. And that contradiction should concern everyone, because it reveals that this so-called apology tour was never about repairing harm. It was about restoring his image and securing loyalty from the one person whose approval still matters to him. And when she validates that narrative by saying he has taken accountability, despite not witnessing most of those conversations, it shows us how powerful emotional conditioning can be. Because when you're emotionally dependent on someone, you often accept their version of events as truth, even when evidence suggests otherwise. And the moment where he expresses relief is especially telling, because it is not relief that others have healed. It is relief that he has been reassured that he is not unsafe to the person whose loyalty he values most. And that shift in focus is critical, because it exposes the transactional nature of their relationship, where emotional security is exchanged for obedience and affirmation. And this becomes even more troubling when we consider the impact on children, because children absorb the emotional tone of their environment long before they understand the words being spoken. And growing up around unpredictable moods, hostility, and emotional tension teaches them to stay quiet, to self-monitor, and to suppress their feelings in order to keep the peace. And when a parent is preoccupied with managing another adult's emotional state, they cannot fully attune to their children, no matter how much they love them. And this creates an environment where kids feel unseen, unprotected, and unsure of where they stand. And that is not a failure of love. It is a consequence of living in survival mode. And what makes this even harder to watch is that Robin has spent years positioning herself as the protector, as the one who values safety above all else. And yet, this admission confirms that safety was compromised, not just for her, but for her children. And instead of addressing that reality directly, the conversation pivots back to loyalty, praise, and validation, reinforcing the same dynamic that allowed the problem to exist in the first place. And when loyalty becomes the highest virtue, it replaces honesty, boundaries, and emotional well-being, and transforms relationships into hierarchies where one person sets the tone and the other adapts in order to survive. And that is not partnership. That is emotional imbalance. And as this conversation continues, we begin to see how others are subtly reframed as cruel or unkind simply for refusing to endure what Robin has endured. And that reframing is powerful because it sends a clear message. Compliance is goodness, endurance is virtue, and walking away is betrayal. And that narrative does not just protect his ego, it pressures her to stay, because leaving would mean confronting the truth that loyalty did not lead to safety, it only prolonged harm. And that is a reality many people struggle to face, especially when their identity has become tied to being the one who stayed, the one who endured, the one who was chosen. And the cost of that identity is immense because it requires silence, self-erasure, and the acceptance of emotional instability as normal. And when that becomes the foundation of a family dynamic, the damage does not disappear. It simply becomes quieter, hidden beneath praise and reassurance, until moments like this, when the truth slips out and reveals just how fragile the system really is. As this dynamic keeps unfolding, it becomes clearer that what we are witnessing is not a story about love or even reconciliation, but about control disguised as commitment, because every time accountability is mentioned, it is immediately followed by justification, and every time harm is acknowledged, it is reframed so that responsibility lands anywhere but where it belongs. And this is where the language around loyalty becomes especially dangerous, because loyalty in a healthy relationship means mutual care, respect, and protection, but here, loyalty is measured by silence, endurance, and agreement. And when someone is praised not for who they are, but for how well they tolerate instability, it creates an environment where emotional pain is normalized and even romanticized. And that is exactly what we see when he elevates Robin above the others, not because of her character or her contributions, but because she stayed, she complied, she absorbed the emotional fallout and never challenged the narrative. And when the other women are described as harsh or unkind, what is really being criticized is their refusal to continue shrinking themselves. And this distinction matters because setting boundaries is not cruelty, choosing self-respect is not abuse, and walking away from emotional instability is not betrayal. But within this framework, those acts are reframed as attacks because they threaten the structure that keeps him centered and validated. And this reframing serves another purpose. It isolates Robin further by positioning her as different from the others, the safe one, the loyal one, the exception. And isolation is a powerful tool in emotionally unhealthy dynamics, because when someone believes they are special for enduring something, they are less likely to question why they should have to endure it at all. And that belief keeps them tethered even when their own words reveal discomfort, fear, and emotional withdrawal. And when Robin admits that she distances herself when he becomes emotionally unsafe, it reveals that safety in this relationship is conditional and unpredictable, something she must actively manage rather than something she can rely on. And that constant vigilance is exhausting. It requires monitoring tone, mood, body language, and emotional shifts. And children living in that environment learn the same skill. They learn to read the room, to stay quiet when tension rises, and to prioritize emotional survival over self-expression. And that is a heavy burden for any child because it teaches them that love requires suppression and that their feelings are secondary to maintaining stability. And when a parent is consumed by managing an unpredictable partner, the children become collateral damage, not intentionally, but inevitably, because attention is divided and energy is depleted, and the household revolves around keeping one person regulated. And this is why the claim that accountability has been taken rings hollow, because true accountability would involve recognizing the long-term emotional impact on the entire family, not just repairing the image of one relationship. And yet, the focus repeatedly returns to how he feels, how he was treated, and how others supposedly wronged him, which reveals that the apology tour was never about healing wounds, but about soothing his own discomfort and restoring a sense of moral superiority. And when Robin accepts that narrative without challenge, it reinforces the cycle, because her validation becomes proof that he is not the problem, and that anyone who disagrees must be exaggerating or malicious. And this dynamic also explains why criticism from others is so quickly dismissed, because acknowledging their perspective would require acknowledging that loyalty did not equal safety, and that endurance did not lead to peace. And that realization would dismantle the entire justification for staying. And when someone has invested years of emotional labor into maintaining a fragile balance, it is terrifying to confront the possibility that the sacrifice was unnecessary or harmful. And so, instead, the system protects itself by rewarding compliance and punishing dissent. And this is where the pedestal becomes a trap, because being praised for loyalty locks Robin into a role she cannot escape without losing status, validation, and identity. And the moment she questions him, she risks becoming what the others were labeled as: difficult, disloyal, or cruel. And that fear keeps her silent even when the truth is sitting on the surface. And when she does speak, it slips out carefully, cautiously, framed as concern rather than confrontation, because direct honesty is not safe in a system built on emotional volatility. And this is why the contrast between words and actions matters so much, because while he claims growth, his language reveals the same patterns: defensiveness, victimhood, and comparison. And growth does not require diminishing others. Accountability does not require applause. And healing does not require someone else to absorb your pain in order to prove their loyalty. And until those patterns change, the environment remains emotionally unsafe, regardless of how many apologies are spoken. And the most heartbreaking part of all is that children raised in this dynamic may grow up believing this is what love looks like, believing that staying quiet is kindness, that enduring discomfort is devotion, and that speaking up risks abandonment. And that belief can follow them into adulthood, shaping their own relationships and sense of self-worth. And that is why moments like this matter, because they reveal the truth beneath the performance and show us that emotional safety cannot be negotiated, traded, or earned through loyalty. It must be freely given, consistently maintained, and mutually protected. And anything less is not love, it is survival. When someone finally admits the truth but stays anyway, it tells you everything about the system keeping them there. This was never about apologies or growth, it was about loyalty, compliance, and silence. And when emotional safety is treated like a reward instead of a requirement, the real cost is paid by the people who had no choice at all. If this conversation made you uncomfortable, it's